Hi, welcome to the Section 3.1 notes on parallel lines and transversals. So parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. And I know that you've worked with parallel lines before. If you were in class, I would just show you if I have my arms out straight in front of me, that would be an example of parallel lines. They're facing the same direction and they are never going to intersect each other, even if you extend them out forever and ever, and they are in the same plane. Okay. Again, a plane is like a sheet of paper or a saw blade could go through both of those lines at the same time, all of both of those lines at the same time. It shows right underneath that. It says, never assume two lines are parallel unless stated or marked. And you can see this picture off to the right here. Those little arrows on the lines actually mean parallel. So like those little markings right there shows that those two lines A, B, and C, D are parallel to each other. So I can write that over here as an example. I can say line AB. Remember, when I'm naming a line, I'm going to put a little line symbol on top with arrows going each way. And then the parallel symbol basically just looks like an 11, two parallel lines. And then I can say is parallel to DC. And I can put my little line symbol above that. Okay, another pair of parallel lines would be these two. And I can see double arrow is showing those two are parallel. So another example then would be AD. Line AD would be parallel to line BC. Okay. All right. Now, parallel planes are planes that do not intersect. Okay, so again, a plane kind of looks like a rectangular parallelogram when we see it in a picture, but technically it extends out in all four directions. And even if you extend them out, they're not going to intersect each other. So if you look around the room that you're in right now and try to find some parallel planes, try and think of that and write down a couple examples. The ones that are coming to my mind would be like the opposite walls in the room, or another would be like the floor and the ceiling. Okay, the floor and the ceiling are never going to intersect each other, even if you extend them out in all four directions. All right, skew lines are words that you may not be familiar with. You might not have heard the word skew. So skew lines are lines that do not intersect. So they're similar to parallel in that regard, but it also ends in are not parallel. So they're not parallel lines, they're skew lines. The difference is that skew lines, they don't intersect, but they're basically not facing the same direction. And so therefore they're not in the same plane as each other. And so therefore they are not parallel. Okay. So an example in the room, I guess it's kind of hard to show you right now, but if you look at a line along the floor of the room you're in, okay, on one wall, and then look at another wall in your room, and I'm going to say of one wall. So line along the floor of one wall in your room, and now look at another wall and look at the line along ceiling on another wall. Okay, so you should be able to see if you're looking at the line along the floor of one wall and then find the line along the ceiling of the wall beside it. Those two lines, if you extend them out, would never intersect each other, but they are not in the same plane, and so therefore they are not parallel lines. They're not facing the same direction either. And we'll look at some examples and some pictures on the page down below. Okay, so we're going to see some examples of these. Example 1 says name all the lines that are parallel to segment BC. So you can see they already gave you one example that BC is parallel to EH. You might not think those are parallel to each other because they're on the opposite sides of a box. But remember, like we've talked about, if I took a sheet of paper or a saw blade, could I slice through segment BC and segment EH all at the same time? Yes. I could go through both corners of that box and slice down and cover both of those. So those are parallel. They're never going to intersect each other, but they are facing the same direction. Okay, some other lines that are parallel to BC would be FG, and also AD over here. I'm putting the segment symbols on top. Okay, example 2 is asking us to name some lines that are skew to AE. So remember, if we're looking at skew, we're looking for lines basically that do not intersect each other, but they're not parallel to each other. So they're basically not in the same plane and they're not facing the same direction. So if we're looking at AE, it's showing us an example here that AE is skewed to BC. Okay, so that's the example it's giving me. See how those two lines, again, they're not facing the same direction, but they still would never intersect each other. So another example would be actually, I came down to example 3. I'm going to go and do example 2 first. Sorry about that. I skipped it. Okay, so if I look at example 2, it says name two pair of parallel planes. So parallel planes just are two planes that are never going to intersect each other. The example they show here is ABF, so this whole top part of the box, and DCG, which is the whole bottom part of the box. So they want me to name another option. So another set of parallel planes I have is BCF, which is basically the right side of the box. And basically this left side of the box over here. I can name that with any of the 3 letters. There's 4 letters, but I can use any 3 of them. I'll say ADH. Okay, then get rid of that. And now we're going to go ahead and do the skew line. So like I said a second ago, AE is skew to BC. Okay, another example that is skew to would be FG. So I'll say that here, AE is skew to FG. And another example here would be DC. Again, we're looking at the red one up here and now the pink one. So AE is skew to DC. Okay. All right, next up is saying are AB and HG coplanar and are they parallel? So let me get rid of my markings that we have here. And AB is right here and HG right here. Again, it says, are they coplanar? And again, could I take a saw blade and slice through that box and cover both of those line segments at the same time? So yes, they are coplanar. And are they parallel to each other? Yes, they do not intersect, and they're facing the same direction, and they're in the same plane. So yes. All right, next up is transversals. It says a line that intersects 2 or more lines in a plane at different points is a transversal. So the example below, if you look at this picture below, move that up here. Okay, so in this example, the line that intersects the 2 or more other lines in this case would be H. So line H is the transversal to line T and to line R. Okay, now in example 5, it says name the following angle or angle pairing for the types of angles below. So these angles that we're about to go over are really, really important for chapter 3. Okay, basically all of chapter 3 kind of hinges on these different angle names. So you want to make sure you learn those and learn those well. So first of all, exterior, what do you think of when you think of the word exterior? I think of the word outside. Like I'm going to paint the exterior of my house means I would paint the outside of my house. So they're already giving you some examples that angle 1 is an exterior angle 2 is an exterior angle. So see if you can think of what the other exterior angles are. And hopefully you're thinking angle 7 and angle 8. Okay, so now let's look at another one. And the next one says interior angles. So for the interior, I think of the inside angles. Like if I'm going to paint the interior of my house, it's the inside of my house, or an interior designer works with decorating the inside of the house. So they're giving you some examples that 3 and 4 are interior angles. So hopefully you're seeing that angle 5 and 6 are also interior angles. Okay, next I'm going to erase what's on the picture. So we can kind of look at the next thing. And on the next thing, it says same side interior angles. Okay, so what that means is interior meaning inside the two lines T and R, and same side meaning on the same side of the transversal. So they're showing you here 3 and what would be same side interior angles, and that would be angle 6. Okay, and then, you know, if you look over here, then the other pair of same side interior angles would be angle 4 and angle 5. Again, same side of the transversal and interior angles, meaning on the inside of the two lines. Okay, next up for alternate interior angles, I'm going to go and erase what we have. Okay, so next up, it shows me that angle 3 and angle 5 are alternate interior. So alternate, I think of alternate as being like different. And so, you know, alternative, a different way of doing things. So they're on different sides of the transversal, but they're still interior angles. They're inside the two lines, in this case, T and R. So that would be 3 and 5. And then if I show you another pair of alternate interior angles, that would be 4 and 6. That one. Okay, so those are alternate interior. Now for alternate exterior, again, I think of alternate as being like different or opposite sides of the transversal, and then exterior angles meaning that they are on the outside. So in this case, my 1 and 7 are a pair of alternate exterior angles, and my other pair would then be angle 2 and angle 8. Okay, or my other pair of alternate exterior angles. Okay, so all the ones we've said so far, these last 3 right here, have all had the word interior or exterior in them. So you're looking for inside the two lines or outside the two lines. This corresponding is the only one that doesn't have the word interior or exterior in it. And the way I think of corresponding angles is I think of in the same relative position. Move this up a tad bit. So same relative position. Okay. And for alternate, I'm going to put different. Okay. So same relative position. So they're showing you some examples here. 1 and 5 are both above their respective two line and both to the left of the transversal. Okay. The other example they give you are 2 and 6. Another pair of corresponding angles, same relative position. Again, they're both above their respective 2 line. They're both to the right of the transversal. Okay, another pair then. See if you can think of what 3 would be corresponding to. But you're thinking of 7. Okay, again, same relative position. These are both below their respective 2 line and both to the right of the transversal. And then the last one pair would be 4 and 8. Again, those are both below their respective 2 line and both to the left of the transversal. If you notice in all these cases, one is an interior angle and one is an exterior angle. So it can't be one of the other ones that has the word interior or exterior in it. If one's interior, one's exterior, so that's another clue that it could be corresponding. Okay, so now on example 6, we're just practicing with some of the words we talked about at the beginning of the first page. So first of all, it just wants us to name a plane. And again, there's many planes in this figure. If you actually look at this figure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's technically 7 planes in that figure, and they're just asking us to name one of them. So if I just want to name, say, the top of that figure, I could say plane RQS. Remember, I can use any 3 points in the plane, any 3 non-collinear points to name a plane. So there's many other planes you can name in that picture, but that's one of them. On number 2, it says a pair of parallel planes. So again, there's some different options I have here, but I'm just going to name the top of the figure and the bottom of the figure. So I could say that RQS, the top of the figure, is parallel to the bottom of the figure, and I just need to name 3 letters on the bottom. I'll say VZY. Okay, on number 3, it says all lines that are parallel to QR. So we can see QR is right here. Again, parallel meaning they're going to be in this facing the same direction and in the same plane. And so lines that be parallel to QR, I could say ST. I could say XY. And I could say VW. Okay, on number 4, it wants me to name some lines that are skew to ST. So here's ST. And if I go and name some lines that are skew to that, VZ would be one. Okay. Again, those 2 segments, even if I extended them out, would never intersect each other, but they're also not in the same plane. They're not facing the same direction. Another example would be WX. It might look like those intersect right now because when I just drew that, they did kind of cross over each other. But you have to think about this is a 3D picture. So kind of think about if you were actually visualizing that as a 3D picture, kind of think that red line is down along the bottom of the figure and that blue line is up at the top of the figure. And so they would never intersect each other. So you have to kind of think of it in 3D. All right, on number 5, all lines that are parallel to TSXY. So it is a little weird to say lines being parallel to a plane, but it basically just means that those lines do not intersect the plane. So TSXY is over here, kind of that right side of the figure. So if I try to think about any segment that would not intersect that plane, even if I extended it out, I have lots of different options. QR would be one. VW would be one. QV would be one. And RW would be one. Okay. And then also UZ would be another one. It might not look like it, but again, those would not intersect if I extended UZ out. Okay, so the last little bit is just seeing if you can remember from what we talked about on the first side, what kind of angle pairs these are. And they're giving you choices right here alternate interior, same side interior, corresponding, and alternate exterior. You're going to use each of those words once, and I want you to, before I say what they are, I want you to go through and pause your video if you need to, and go ahead and fill in A, B, C, and D of what you think those angle pairs are. Like I said, this whole chapter is kind of dependent on you knowing what those angle pairs are. The more you practice them, the better you'll get. So see if you can really think about what those words mean and get those filled in. Okay. So hopefully you just tried A, B, C, and D. And in this case, angle 1 and angle 2, they are both outside their respective two lines. They're on different sides of the transversal. So you should have had alternate exterior angles. All right, these two are both inside their respective two lines, both different sides of the transversal. So these are alternate interior. Okay, and then this is an interior angle inside the two lines. This one is an exterior angle outside the two lines. So if I have one interior, one exterior, that's my clue that one's going to be corresponding. They're in the same relative position. Okay, they're both like underneath the transversal, and they're both to the right of their respective two lines. Okay, and then last are these two angles, 1 and 2. They're both inside their two lines. They're both on the same side of the transversal. So these would be same side interior angles. All right, so thanks for joining section 3.1, and feel free to let me know if you have any questions.